for me, that was a place, that has been a place that I have been the most comfortable. It's like that's who I am in a way that I can't be anyplace else. You're easy to love, you're easy to care for. When I first saw you, I knew we were meant to be. Stars fell from heaven, sunshine, oh my. My heart was on fire, then I knew why. Universe was saying, you're easy to love too. Music was playing, I heard that drum song. Those drums played all night long. Universe was saying, this is love. Music was playing, I heard my heart song. It was singing, this love is lifelong. The universe was saying, I'm easy to love too. With you.
Well, hello, Theresa, and thanks for coming here today.
I'm so thrilled to be here, Kevin. It's wonderful.
All right. Well, you're a wonderful musician and arranger, and I wanted to talk about how you got into this, because you have some pretty interesting aspects about the beginning of your life that led you into being interested in performing and arranging.
Yes, I do. My dad was a big band musician, and we used to follow the band bus, and I would watch my dad make these arrangements for a 28-piece band in the back of the band bus, and they'd drive 400 miles, and then that night they'd play it.
So they'd hatch it on the bus.
He had perfect pitch, so he could do that, and it was just amazing. And then to actually physically see the arrangement, his manuscript was so beautiful, and it just took me in, and I'd get to see all the instruments lined up and see all the parts, the way it worked, and then to hear it and to see his face and to hear him talking with the band about how he really wanted this to sound, how he wanted, trumpet players put a little more into that sound and different things. I mean, it was just exciting to me.
So what is it you want people to come away with once they've seen one of your arrangements? What are you aiming for?
Pleasure.
Is there illumination there too? 'Cause you want them to laugh, you want them to feel moved, but is there a deeper goal here?
Well, I think everyone who does something like that would like it to be appreciated.
Yeah.
And that makes you feel good when people go, oh, that was great,
Yeah, yeah.
Mostly they don't say, oh, that was really bad.
Usually.
Usually it's more
They
fun
say
than
that in the alley in the back. You got to listen to it secondhand.
Right, right, right.
But now in arranging a full piece a full panoply of musicians with instruments and singing and all that. How is your message being conveyed differently that way, as opposed to just performing something yourself? Because you're also giving pleasure and putting across a message of what you want to get across when it's just you and your piano on a stage. Why do the big deal production instead?
It's more energy.
Is it?
Sure. You've got
Is it like
all
a
of
light
these-
bulb?
It's like this light going on for everyone. I mean, the thing is, I don't completely understand what you're asking, because I think
It's a little esoteric.
It
yeah.
is. It is, because if it's what brings you to create it,
Yeah.
that's one question. It's how to, if you're working with, say, like I had one play where I had written all the music and there were 130 people on stage.
Yeah.
And so trying to get the different nuances from all of this and get the character and things like that. I mean, it's this place where, oh, I know, it's like letting my imaginary glands come out and play. And it's this thing that allows, that understanding about the character and the piece that you're trying to create in that expression. And you want the audience to be able to sense that and feel that too. Mm-hmm. It's not just funny to me, or it's not just funny at the rehearsal, but the audience gets it.
Yeah. Is it like doing a painting with one color as opposed to, a full palette? Is that what it feels like to you?
Oh, that's so interesting. Really, to me, what it's like is I'm hearing nature. I'm hearing all the different rhythms. I'm hearing the different sounds, like horns honking. I'm hearing the owls. I'm hearing the percussion of the stream that I lived by, going by. And I go, oh yeah, that's the drums. That, and those things that influence everything. And then sometimes there's just this sound, this wonderful melody that comes so clear, and it becomes the focus.
Yeah.
And it depends. I was explaining to the producer earlier that it depends on who I'm writing for, or what situation I'm writing for too, depending on, like you're saying, whether it's just me and my jazz trio, that's one thing. But if it's this major thing that's including all these people, like I did this thing where I wrote this play as a benefit for the music department at the school.
Yeah.
And so I did commercials for every single one of the business people in town if they would donate to the music program.
Right.
And we did some crazy things. I mean, it was just crazy.
What, did the commercials?
Yes, they were nuts. I mean,
And did they involve the whole orchestra?
yes.
You're doing it?
And or, like this, it was an old radio show, and we had all the sound effects stuff up on the stage.
Oh, the clippity
And
cloppity.
so the thing for the bank, we had this slide, and I went to the hardware store and got all the nuts and bolts.
Uh-huh.
And we were singing money, 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 and the nuts and bolts are sliding down the slide, and everything. So you get this different, I mean, that's arranging too.
How do you get people involved in something like that? Because your typical musician just wants to do a nice, expressive piece of music. Doing something about a bank slide, you have
Well,
to do some selling.
this is where I'm known kind of as a wacko in town.
What a nice wacko.
I mean, I wrote a piece for kazoos, rocks, and triangle.
Really?
Yeah, and here are these people, they're willing to walk into crazy places if it's fun. And it works.
And why did you use wacky instruments like that instead of guitar, violin, piano?
Well, because sometimes it's fun to step out of the box and become outrageous.
So using the different instruments, how does that change your message? Like, tell me a couple of different pieces that you've arranged and the difference between those and why you did them.
Okay. One piece I wrote for my daughter, and I had a cello solo.
Yeah.
in there. And that, it was a love piece in terms of a message to the world about heart's blessings. And so that's very different. And then telling the cellist what I wanted was this soft, wonderful thing that was created, and then went into the studio, and this thing happened that was just absolutely exquisitely beautiful. And that's very different than working with a big band doing Latin, which I've done,
Yeah.
you know.
What was the Latin thing you did?
It was called It's a Ditz.
It's a Ditz.
Yes. And it started off with pan and with ball bearings rolling in it, so
Yeah.
it got this, and then rain stick, and then llama toenails.
Llama toenails.
Yeah, percussion
Okay.
instruments. And then just the piano, and then we had trumpets, trombones, sax, congas. Just, it was so much fun. I mean, jumping up and down on the stage, having fun. I mean, that's great.
And were you jumping up and down on the
Yes.
stage too? No kidding.
There's something, I don't know, I think for a long time in my life, that was the place I was the most comfortable in. We don't need to talk about that part, because there's a little therapy involved. But
Well, that's actually a really good thing. That is a motivation for most musicians, I think. Isn't it a form of self-therapy? And when you do
Yeah.
that kind of self-therapy, aren't you then bringing some therapy to the people who are involved in the project
yes.
with?
Well, and it's also that for me, that was a place, that has been a place that I have been the most comfortable. It's like that's who I am in a way that I can't be anyplace else in my life.
Do you think about your father and his arranging when you're doing these things, or have you moved beyond that into your own realm?
Oh, I do. My realm is so far out from his.
Yeah.
Very different. But the thing about being invited here to do this show is that it's been wonderful. You know, I mean, as I've matured, I've had an amazing amount of musical experiences in my life. Mm-hmm. And this has opened the door for me to have these times where I remember the gifts my father gave me that way. That was the one place we had communication, was in music. And it's part of me, it's part of my strengths.
Now, what motivates you to do a musical production for children as opposed to for adults? Why?
Kids don't
do that?
have as many bruises on their aura. I don't know if you understand what I mean, but like, it's an amazing thing. We ran a thing in Winters called youth drama, or acting up, as we called it. And seeing these kids come alive and get out of, you know, so many kids are like this, and then all of a sudden if somebody says, come on, let's play, and they start doing that, and they start singing, or they start acting, and all of a sudden they understand that it's just so much fun, and that life can be fun. You don't have to be inside tightened up all the time. You can just go, all right.
Well, that's like, do you have to go into your inner child to
Yes,
channel into that?
Sure.
Because you have the kind of ebullience of someone who didn't forget what it's like to be a kid. Do you have to go into that place
Is
when
that
you're
a
writing?
good thing?
I think it's a great thing. And do you have to tap into that when you're writing the
totally.
kid thing, or are you
Totally.
mom doing a kid production?
Well, I'm mom when I'm bossing them around and telling them what to do.
Yeah.
But when it gets to that point where it is the thing, I meant it seriously earlier about letting your imaginary glands come out and play. Mm-hmm. I mean, we taught them how to throw pies. You should have been at that rehearsal.
Oh, but
it was
that's fun.
hysterical. It was really fun.
How did you know how to throw a pie?
Well, I learned as a young person.
In a play production,
Yeah.
throwing pies? Oh, that's interesting.
They're-
Are kids easier or tougher than adults to work with?
Oh, that's a good question. It depends on how many there are.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes kids, it depends too, like if it's during puberty, that's more difficult than younger.
Oh, so little guys are easier.
They're more willing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
when
it's,
how do you psych yourself up for it when you're coming to arrange a group of pubescent kids who are kind of, jumping around and in that phase, as opposed to little guys? How do you get yourself excited for the older kids?
well, actually, for me personally, I was artist in residence at the high school and ran the music program and the choral program there.
So you get all kinds of personalities.
And so being with the high school kids, I was strict.
Yeah.
And sometimes they give me all kinds of about it, and then later in life come back and say, this is what's so rewarding. The guy comes and says, I just auditioned for the UCD band, and I got in because I played all 12 scales like you taught me. So
Nice.
that's rewarding.
That's good. Well, Theresa, it's been lovely having you here today. Thank you for coming.
Oh, I just love being here. Do I really have to go?
I think so. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
I'm moving to Mars. Yeah, I think I'd like to try me out a life in the stars. My friends all say I need a place to air out my heart, so I'm moving to Mars. You know, this life has been crazy. Sometimes I think I'm not really here. Every time I turn around, another friend is going down.